Alright, so to get Frank going, we first need to download this free file from a website. I'll put the link into the description below. It's free pick. If you click on the link, it helps me out. If not, that's just fine. So go ahead and follow that link, and you're going to come in and download this character. Now, just really quick, a quick caveat: you cannot resell this character, whether it's rigged or not. This is a licensed character through free pick. You cannot resell it for money. You can use it in videos, you can use it in print media, but just be aware of that. This isn't something you can take and go make money off of, whether it's a rigged character or not. Even the ones you download from my content store is the same way. All right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and click on the download link, and that's going to give us, and a file. There we go. There it is. A zip file. I'm on a Mac. You can do this on a PC as well, but I prefer the Mac. I went ahead and unzipped that file. If you have questions about zipping files, just let me know. And what it gives us is it gives us an EPS file and a JPEG. Now, we're definitely not going to want to use a JPEG, although we could do that, but it's going to take a ton more time. We want to use the EPS file in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up in Illustrator. And that gives us this file right here. I'm going to close my previous one. That's something I've been editing. And we're going to do this from scratch. And here we have our character file. Now, the artist who made this and sold this didn't set it up with character development in mind. So the fun part that I enjoy is taking any illustrated character and rigging it and getting it ready for animation. And in this case, we're going to actually do one I haven't done, which is our side 90-degree view right here for Mr. Frank. I've done the front one, I've done the 45-degree one, and I'll make those available for free on my Reallusion store, link in the description below. But for today, we are going to set it up to where we're doing the 90-degree pose. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off everything else that we don't need in this file. And one of the first things I like to do is when I'm working with something like this, I like to save it as a different name, under a different name, so we're not editing the original. It's always good to have a backup of the original so you can see what it actually was supposed to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and save that in my artwork folder. It's highly important to stay organized as you go through this. I'm going to put this original edited, and this is going to be Frank the Turtle. There we go. Very good. Now I have a backup of the original downloaded and the original stuff, and you can always go back and download it on FreePick itself. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all the other Franks and just make sure I have this Frank selected. I'm going to actually bring all of Frank's paths out of the group and out here. And that may become apparent why I do that in just a minute. But mostly it's when I click on the selection tool rather than the direct selector. It selects what I want rather than the entire character if it was in a group folder. All right, so with Frank, we have different pieces that we need to pull apart before we go to Reallusion's Cartoon Animator and get a template of a working character side view. Like for example, Martha here. We need to make sure the file first is ready for us to work with and get rigged for a custom character. So this tutorial is going to be mainly Illustrator. So if you're kind of familiar with this and you want to skip ahead, that's fine, but that's what this tutorial is about, is getting this character ready. So first we have his arm, and before I do anything, I like to take everything and duplicate it. And I did that by selecting the entire artwork piece, and then I'm going to group it, and now I have a working example of what it should look like. And then I can take his arm and kind of move it out here. His arm looks good as far as custom animation will be concerned. The only problem are these two sharp angles here, and so to fix that, I'm going to go in here and use the direct selector tool. I'm going to click that one. I'm going to hold down shift, click that one, and it should should give you these this little tool here where you can round out the corners and make it smooth like that. Now that arm's going to be much easier to animate with versus the square one. And you could just copy paste this arm, the left arm for the right arm, but I like the color of the right arm. Let's just go ahead and duplicate this arm. I'm duplicating by holding down Alt and Shift. I'm going to move it down here, and then I'm going to hit A and select this one. Then I'm going to hit I, dropper tool, and that way we have the darker background arm over there. Now I can, before I delete this arm, I'm going to go ahead and move this into a place where I think it might be located. I'm going to move this one into the same place because this is a side view. Drag them on top of each other. I'm going to rename this arm L for the left arm, arm R for the right arm. I'm going to delete this arm. Now we no longer need it. So if I hide that one, you should see the arm there, and we're going to hide it behind the body as soon as we get to that point. Now, when you're rigging a character like this for Cartoon Animator, it's important to have certain aspects of each piece, and I'll go through that step by step. I'm kind of going as fast as I can, as I don't want each tutorial to be very long, and that things will get smoother and smoother as we move along in each video of this series. Now that we've got the arms out of the way, let's go ahead and get the legs. And to get the legs, it looks like there's a couple elements we want to make sure we get. And I'm holding down Shift with the selector tool, and what that's doing is over here, it's allowing me to select multiple things. I'm going to group those, Command G. I think it's Control G. If I say Command, just know in a PC it's Control. Now we have the same issue with the legs here. I probably need to extend them a little bit, and then I'm going to smooth out those corners, and I did that the same way I did the arms, if you forgot that. All right, I've now got that leg. I'm going to go ahead and name that group leg, and that's the back leg, so leg R. And I like this leg. This one's a little bit harder to work with because it's just kind of squonky, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this right leg, and I'm going to move it out here. And I'm going to change the color to the front leg color, like that. So now I have a right and a left leg. And I can actually delete this leg, delete. I'm just using the direct selector tool, A is a shortcut. Just clicking and dragging the things that I don't need. All right, so we actually have a right and a left leg. So I'm going to go ahead and put leg left. I'll just drag that back. I'm using the selector tool this time because they're grouped, and it puts it all in a folder. And I'll move that on top of the body in just a minute. I'm going to turn off the legs and the arms, and next let's go ahead and separate the shell. So to get his shell separate, let's just go ahead and select all the pieces we need. Now sometimes with complex art, it's nice to use this lasso tool right here. It's Q for a shortcut, and you just kind of grab everything that might be related. Now the problem is it grabbed the shell as well, so I can come over and hold down Shift, unclick that, Shift, unclick that. Let's see what this one is. I double shift click. See how it's a smaller square there? You're going to have to shift twice just to make sure you get everything in that subfolder. It looks like we have the neck, so I'm going to go find that. Where is his neck pieces? Is it this one? No. Another way to do this is go to the direct selector tool while you have everything and hit Shift and then Shift. Shift. I'm just holding down Shift and I'm unselecting those things. Now that looks like we just have the turtle shell. I'm going to group those. I'm going to call this shell. I'm going to move his shell over here. And now we have his torso left. And the shell will probably be part of the torso, but I'm going to, well, I might keep it together. We'll see. Let's zoom out a little to see his example. Just get him a little bit closer. All right. Now we're going to have to create a little bit of body here in order to make him a little bit more realistic. And I believe we're going to have to make his head. Separate his head as well. So the next step we need to do is let's work on the head. So one tool I use, well first of all, excuse me, I jumped ahead of myself, is we need to come in here and get everything for the head. And I'm going to use the lasso tool again. And that looks like we got everything we need. I'm going to group it. I'm going to call this head. We'll separate the eye and the neck in just a minute. Now that I have that, I'm going to take the arms out. And I'm going to turn those back on, and let's put the arm left. It's also, no, we'll have to keep the shell separate because we want the arm underneath the shell. So that's important. We'll remember that for the future here. Within the head folder itself, I've selected everything. I'm going to go and use under the eraser tool, if I hold that down, the knife tool, and I'm just going to create a head here. And by going like this and cutting through, I don't know if I cut that correctly. So what that's done, it's allowed me to have separate pieces here to use. And if I group those, then I actually have a head and a neck. And so now I can come in with the neck. I'm going to click on this layer here, and I'm going to create a neck that's more Reallusion Cartoon Animator friendly. And by doing this, and I'm just clicking on these points here, I'm going to hit the P for pen tool. I should be able to zoom in and erase this. It's not letting me, so I'm going to go like this. P for pen tool, Alt or Option on a Mac. Nope. Why is it not letting me delete that point there? I'm just going to hit delete, hit P for pen, click on that one and connect it to that piece. Okay, zoom back out. Let's go ahead and turn off his head and see how we're doing. So what I'm basically doing is creating the shape of the neck, which is going to be part of the torso. I don't like how it jets out like that, so let's see if we can, no, it's still not letting us do this. I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this with the direct selector tool, P for pen, I'm going to connect that piece there, and now I'm going to smooth it out using the smooth tool. So I direct selector A, selected what I wanted to smooth, then the smooth tool, and I'm just going to smooth this out. It looks like we need to connect this piece down to, or to some piece over here. Where's this one? Okay. So look, I'm just going to merge these two. So I have two pieces here. So if I hit that with the direct selector, then Shift, direct selector, and then I go to Window Path Finder, merge that first one right there, Unite. Now I have one single shape for that. And then I can go back to my smooth tool. I'm going to smooth this out, and I like that a lot better. And with the shadow, I'm going to play the shadow a little bit so it looks a little bit better, and it'll probably be, well, I'm trying to decide if we simplify it. Let's zoom out a little bit. It actually is going to be nice if we keep that shadow there, because the head will look like it's got a shadow underneath it on the neck. So that's important that the shadow stays. So I'm going to go ahead and extend the shadow. I direct selector, P for pen tool, drag this out. And I will have a separate tutorial on how to use Illustrator. I'm kind of going fast here, and what you can do is just try to get used to these things that I'm shouting out here. P for pen tool or A for direct selector tool. It's just something that I've done over the years. With any software, you know, you can get really good and get keyboard shortcuts, and it just becomes second nature. So I'm just kind of extending the shadow out everywhere. And then what I can do is I can put it inside a clipping path. So I'm going to copy the base layer, and then I'm going to select both of those. And if I do Command 7, I believe, nope, I got to put the clipping path on the top. Command 7, there we go. And now what I've created is a clipping group, and what the clipping mask does is it takes the shape on the top and it puts everything else inside of it. And so even though this shape is bigger, the clipping path kept it inside the shape that I wanted it to be inside of. And you can go back and rewind that and repeat it if that didn't make sense. All right, so I have the neck all created. Now the problem I see here is this body. So I need to be able to either create an extended body here. I think I'll do both and have the shell. Yeah, let's do both. It's just because we're going to have the shell separate. So what I want to do is I want to take our clipping mask here, and I'm going to extend this out here. Hit P for pen tool, add a path, A for direct selector tool. And I'm going to delete by using P for pen tool, hover over that point, hover over that point, hover over that point. And I don't want them to have an arched back. So that looks pretty nice there. And then inside this clipping path, I'm going to have to extend my artwork. It doesn't matter to where because it's in a clipping path, excuse me. And then we have the shadow there. And now let's keep extending the clipping mask. And I believe the leg will be okay. We may want to bring it down to here so it actually looks like he has a body in case the leg is moving around. But what I don't like is how this, so I'm going to go back to clipping mask. And again, this is just something that maybe you're not used to and you just want to go ahead and get the character and work the animation. That's fine. But what I enjoy about this process is you can take any character, go purchase a free one on free pick, link in the description below, or license one or create your own, and you can animate it. So you could do this for your kids, or you could do this for a job, even a career, animating people's artwork. That's something you could do. And so what I'm doing here is just kind of getting it underneath the front shell. So I'll probably put it all underneath this path here. So let's go ahead and grab all of this, group those, and call this tummy. It's good to save every now and then. I just hit Apple S or Command S on a PC. I'm going to call this the neck. Great. And we'll fine tune things if we need to as we go along and put it into Cartoon Animator. So that worked really well. Excuse me, you're going to hear me do subtle. That noise is just my braces that I have Invisalign, and so I apologize for that noise. Let's go ahead and extend this out so it looks a little bit better, just in case the tummy shows. I'm going to do the same thing here by deleting those paths because I saw two other paths. Oops. Right there. And then I'm going to hit Alt to fix those. I could create a clipping mask there as well, but I'm just kind of going through as fast as I can for the sake of the time of this video. I'm going to go ahead and use P for pen tool, Alt on the pen tool. There we go. And now we have a base body. So let's go ahead and take this shell, put it back on there. That's nice. I like that a lot. And let's turn back on the legs. Let's put the left leg in front. See how it looks. Now it looks like we need to move that leg. So we're going to move that leg to its spot underneath here. And we're going to have to do the same thing to this guy. It just looks awkward because of the pose here. But that makes sense to have it there in this position here. And then if I wanted to, just for the sake of visually checking how the leg fits, I'm going to put it like this. Let's make his foot flat there. So it'll be about there. Let's turn off the shell. It won't show a ton, so if we did, yeah, that looks pretty good there. And then the arms look like they're in the right spot. I could take the left arm and rotate it. I could use a point of rotation there. And the left arm's going to go back behind all of this. Okay, very good. Just want to make sure it looks right. And again, we'll do this in Cartoon Animator, but this is kind of the process of just setting it up. All right, let's turn back on the shell. That's looking pretty good. We have a full body. So we could actually take that into Cartoon Animator and just put it on with any head. But let's go ahead and get the head ready now. Head's going to be a little bit more interesting. We may have a little bit of a bobblehead just because of the way the design this is, and I'm okay with that. So undo. So let's go ahead and open up the eye first. I'm going to group the eye together and call that eye left because that's on the left side. And then we have the head here. I'm going to create a copy of the head, and I'm going to put the head on top and shift select these. Command 7, Control 7, and I created a clipping mask here for the head. So I can work with this shadow and morph the head and not worry about the shadow not looking right. And we could be as complex as we wanted to with the mouth and the shadow and the jaw. There's ways to make it look like the jaw's moving. I'm going to hit P for pen tool. I'm going to redo this one so there's no sharp points. And I'm going to also go in here back to the clipping mask, zoom in, and P for pen tool. I'm going to get rid of this guy and this guy, and go back to the clipping mask and hit A for direct selector, and just kind of make his head a little bit more usable with the neck. Okay, now with the mouth, it's going to be an interesting thing with side views. Typically with side views, I like to use mouths that are transparent. But for now, we're going to do the mouths in this later video. We're just going to rig this guy and get him into Cartoon Animator, and we'll work with mouths and certain things at another point, because we can always replace sprites in Cartoon Animator 4. All right, he's looking good. We've got the eye out there. We've got the head. Let's go ahead and put these two in a folder, and let's just call it mouth. He's looking great. I think he's ready to get rigged and put into Cartoon Animator. So to finish up this tutorial, this second video in the series with Frank the Turtle, to summarize, we've gone through, we selected a file, downloaded it, put it into Illustrator, and the same goes for Photoshop. We're actually going to now go into Photoshop and work with it in Photoshop. So far, Reallusion doesn't have a way to import illustrated files. There are ways to export all this into a Photoshop file, but it takes a lot more time. I find it easier just to go straight into Photoshop, and I'll show that in the next video tutorial. Please do like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.